We got 32 seconds left in this first half. Stay tuned for halftime. Special guest, one that we haven't had on the show before. You might know him from Instagram, Mvpete Sports. Pete Brunsman joins us, going to talk social media in the GCL, going to talk golf, going to talk all things Bomber Athletics. So stay tuned for that highly anticipated interview here on ESPX. Hello and welcome back to the broadcast booth here at RDI Stadium. I'm joined with a highly anticipated, very special guest, Mvpete. Pete, how's it going?
It's going well, Zach. It's going really well.
So, obviously, let's address the elephant in the room. You run, I'll say it, the biggest, I have to imagine the biggest high school sports page in Cincinnati right now. I believe you just hit 2K, right?
Yep, that's right.
So, very big. LaSalle is one of your most vocal groups outside of the St. X community on your post. This is a big game for you. Obviously, 35-14 has to be music for your ears going into half.
Yeah, it is. It feels great, and this game is personal for me. I went to grade school with all LaSalle kids and at St. Ignatius, and I'm feeling good right now. Feeling really well.
So let's start with the origin. Where did you come up with Mvpete? Obviously, I remember hearing some talk sophomore year about it, and then it ended up going through. Obviously, it's been wildly successful. Walk us through what that process was like.
Yeah, so I created it freshman year for March Madness because I wanted to share my March Madness picks with people, and I covered some NBA too. And then one day, sophomore year, I think it was football season, I made a football hype video, and it took off for St. X. And people like the St. X post, so I kept it going, and it's doing really well, and now we're here.
So one thing that the three things that you can seem to count on for St. X students is death, taxes, and reposting your post of the wins on Instagram. What has that been like it seems like the St. X community has really just gotten behind you as a whole. And what's that support been like?
It's awesome. It feels great to have everyone behind me, and other schools say stuff in my comments, and then I got other St. X kids. They got my back, and it feels good. It's a great community.
So Pete, one thing that people might not know about you that know about the Instagram, because it seems like every high schooler across the greater Cincinnati area knows about Mvpete Sports, but they don't know the real story about Pete, and that you play golf. So obviously, pretty good year for golf right now. Obviously, coming off a sectional title last week. What's that been like being a part of that team, and what can you share about this season?
It's awesome. It's really great. The golf team is such a great team to be on. We got a great head coach with Alex Kepley, and all our coaches are just awesome, and it's a great time. And we'll be at districts next week.
So obviously, it's kind of been just expected dominance for the golf team. A lot of GCL titles in a row. Wasn't terribly competitive this year. I believe we won by essentially we could have played one extra round with no other team there and still would have won.
Correct.
Most likely.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Can you walk me through that mindset of you're getting through your league play, which is supposed to be, in the other sports, is one of the greatest leagues that you can be a part of, and I'm sure it's not far off from that in terms of golf, but how do you stay kind of in that mindset, and how do you stay competitive when you're going into the later rounds of the playoffs and facing higher competition?
You just got to keep going. You got to take it shot by shot, stroke by stroke. You just got to focus on your game, just kind of zone out the competition, focus on being the best player you can be.
So I have to ask, we almost had him on a show. He was sick that day at school, so he couldn't come on. What can you tell me about Zach Beard? Obviously, GCL Player of the Year, an interesting character to say the least. Do you have any anecdote about Zach Beard, and what's he like to golf with?
He's a really funny person. He's great to play golf with, and he's really good at golf.
Yeah.
And this game's personal too. I'm sitting next to him in the student section. He went to St. Ignatius with me. We've been friends for 12 years now. Went through 8 years in St. Ignatius and 4 years here, so pretty close.
So you mentioned that, and that's one thing that me being from the north in Westchester, I never really got a taste of until I got to St. X. That not really the east-west side divide, but just the division of all the different West Side grade schools. What's that like when you get to St. X? Because obviously you got your cliques that are already forming, but how's your experience been adjusting to the St. X community and meeting new friends outside of just the ones you had in grade school?
Yeah, so I was lucky. I have one of my really good friends, Tanner Creech. He's from the east side, so he went to Guardian Angels. And, I kind of just mixed groups with him, you meet all these sorts of people in the St. X community. It's really awesome. And, it's great. And you still keep your grade school friends, too. So I've been pretty close to Zach for a while and all the other St. Ignatius guys.
You mentioned Tanner Creech, a star player committed to Ohio State on the now GCL in the driver's seat. Still got one more game left to solidify the title, but after a huge win over Moeller at Xavier University, if you didn't watch it, go back and listen to Mihir's call. It's electric.
Yeah.
The Bombers scored with, I believe, 5 minutes left on the clock, just going. It was an away game too for him, going and winning a huge one. So Tanner Creech, a star on that team, committed to Ohio State. You mentioned there that you're good friends with Tanner. I've got a few classes with him. Great guy, even greater soccer player, it seems like.
Yeah.
So, Pete, this has been awesome. We got teams lining up. We'd love to do this again, maybe in the playoffs, maybe at some point, because I know this is what the GCL fans, not just the St. X fans, but GCL fans across the state of Ohio in some sense, because I know you get followers that are outside the GCL, but also in Cincinnati, this is what they've wanted. They've been, I've heard talk, I've heard, oh, when's Pete coming on? You got to get Pete on. So this has been great. Thank you for joining us. But the one thing I always ask my halftime interviews, obviously you give your score prediction earlier in the day, and you said we've already hit that score prediction. Do you have a revised final score prediction for this one?
49-21. 49-21. Bombers.
All right. I like that pick. Pete, thanks for joining us. We hope to have you back on. All you watching at home, thank you for staying on for the halftime show. We'll be back with second half action after a short break here on ASBX. Bombers currently lead it at the half, 35-14.